Hi, welcome back to Podium Pop. My name is Grace, and I'm here with my co-host Celine. We have a pretty exciting episode here for you today. We went to another IndyCar race. We went to the St. Louis Gateway Indycar race, and we're going to do a little race recap experience, and then we are going to talk about what we did there and our time there. Should we pop the bottle and get into today's episode?
Absolutely. Let's get started.
Let's do it.
So this was our fourth IndyCar race.
Mm-hmm.
And again, all very different. We have really gotten a good broad range of different types of IndyCar races, which is really awesome.
Yeah, it's been really cool to see.
This was one of the less busier races we went to. Obviously, Indy 500 was the most busy. Not shocking at all. And I would say definitely Mid-Ohio was more packed full of people than this one. But this was a good oval experience.
It was a great oval experience.
The experience was great.
The race was... The results, well...
The race was a little sad. But kind of doing an overview. So we got our tickets a couple of weeks ago. And I think on the scale of, looking at if you wanted to attend a race, this one was slightly more expensive than Mid-Ohio.
Yeah, it was.
But not too much.
Mm-mm.
It wasn't anything crazy. And it was the full weekend experience. We also got pit and paddock again, which was super awesome.
Yeah.
And again, that upcharge wasn't, it was about the same as it was for Mid-Ohio. Mm-hmm. It's a Friday-Saturday race. It wasn't a Saturday-Sunday race, which was a little bit different.
That was also new for this year. Last year it was Saturday-Sunday.
Yeah, and it was also new for us.
Yeah.
Because we went to the road course, Indy road course on Saturday. But as far as arriving, so we left Cincinnati at 7 a.m.
Yeah.
We got to the speedway at 11:30ish, right when practice one was starting, and right away we could tell that it was going to be a very low attendance on the Friday session. Again, that's where I struggle with Friday, Saturday races, because I was fortunate enough where I could take off work and go on the Friday.
Yeah.
You were able to take off work. But most people can't.
Yeah.
So it was interesting, but there was no one there on Friday. It was pretty empty. Even when qualifying was happening, which was later in the day.
Yeah.
It still was just not really worth it for people to come in.
It was pretty nice crowd wise. We weren't waiting in long lines.
Right. And it was also similar to Mid-Ohio, where the Friday was a lot less packed than Saturday and Sunday. Mm-hmm. It was really nice because Friday we got to do a lot of the things that we didn't really want to wait in line for on Saturday, or the other days. So it was really great for us to be able to get there that early and do that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So we arrived Friday.
Yeah.
First thing we do when we get in is we get our pass and we go straight to the paddock.
Yeah.
So we go over to the paddock. We came with our friend Lexi. Mm-hmm. Shout out to Lexi. She's probably listening. And then we also picked up our friend Mimi on the way. Mimi, Motorsport Mimi.
Mm-hmm.
So we kind of came in with a good group, and then we met up with some other friends while we were there. We were meeting with our friend Marley.
Yeah.
And our friend Sarah.
Mm-hmm.
Along with the people that we were expecting to meet.
Yeah.
That we planned to meet up with. We met so many more people.
So many people.
Which was super exciting.
No, yeah, it was so exciting. We met, a lot of new people, and then, we saw some people that we've seen at Mid-Ohio before. And I think it, again, just kind of reiterated how much I love this community of people,
mm-hmm.
and how just, nice everyone was. Once again, we said, everybody was so nice in Mid-Ohio. Everybody was so nice again. We, made friends with the people at the lemonade stand.
Yeah. It's not even the friends we're talking about that we're meeting. Everyone's so nice there.
Was so nice.
The vendors, the security guards, we had such great experiences with everyone. And it's just, I don't know, every time I leave a race weekend, I just feel wow, this is a great community that we have, and this is just so much fun, and I love doing this, and I want to go to every single one, even though I can't, but
It's truly like that. I think I like this little life.
Yeah, we do that all the time. Like, it's after every single day. Like, we'll get back, and normally we stay at an Airbnb, and we'll, like, get back to the Airbnb. We'll finally, like, cool off from being in the heat all day, and then we'll just be like, I think I like this little life.
It was so fun.
Because it's just so fun.
Yeah, no, I absolutely loved it. So on Friday, we kind of went around the paddock in the beginning when we got there, and then for Indy Next qualifying, we watched that. We went up into the grandstands, which the sun was beating down. It was
hot on Friday.
Oh, it was hot both days.
Yes, especially Friday. I think Friday was hotter.
I thought it was supposed to be cool, or you're right, actually, Friday was hotter. We, like, walked all the way to the very top. Friday was general admission, so you could kind of sit wherever. Mm-hmm. We walked all the way to the very top and, like, caught a very little bit of a shadow from, like, the spotters tower.
I thought I was gonna die.
Yeah, Celine,
I was rough. I was the sun, and I was dehydrated. Guys, drink your water if you go to a race.
Drink your water. Celine?
Chug your water. I was sipping there, chewing on ice.
We had, like, a group of friends that all went up there, and then we, like, sit down, and everybody kind of dispersed, like, go get drinks or water refill in between Indy Next qualifying and Indy qualifying. And then at one point, it was just me and Celine. She looks at me, she goes, I almost passed out. I was like, why didn't you tell anybody? Why did you? I was like, when? What? And she was like, right when we walked up.
I didn't want to make a scene. I didn't want to make a scene. I recovered. If I was close to actually passing out, I would have got someone's attention. Yeah. We had a medical professional with us.
Yeah, Mimi.
I would have nudged Mimi.
Mimi, our medical professional.
She basically has her PhD.
She told me she has her EMT license, so.
Perfect.
Yeah, perfect.
I was in good hands. I was fine.
Yes, of course.
I knew who I needed to get to if something was happening.
Yeah, but good thing Celine didn't pass out.
I was fine, guys.
Drink your water, drink some electrolytes if that's something you like. Have some food. Take it easy. You too.
Take it easy.
Lots of steps. Wow, you used to say that phrase all the time.
Yeah.
So yeah, watch qualifying up there too. Obviously, a little bit of a struggle for some. Arrow McLaren. I mean, it wasn't like bad. But it wasn't the best.
Yeah. I think a lot of people weren't surprised about it, but the fact that it was really like Penske and Meyer-Shank that were near the top, which like sure. Penske is like pretty on par with everything that we were expecting. And again, we knew that David felt really comfortable on this track.
This is his track.
Like he talks about all the time how much he loves it. He always feels really good here. He always does really good in the past races he's done there. But I think the fact that the car was where it needed to be, because obviously Felix did really well also in qualifying. Just again proved how the conditions were perfectly set up. They were set up for Dave to have a successful weekend. Yeah. And we were on cloud 9. Spoiler alert, that didn't last very long.
You know, we had a bit of a jumbled notes and we forgot to talk about one big thing, but since we're talking about David Malukas right now, he signed with AJ Foyt for 2025 in a multi-year contract.
Yes, and it's interesting because most people, while AJ Foyt is a very iconic IndyCar team right now, similar to how Williams is in Formula One, right now, they aren't one of the higher level teams. And people consider being at Meyer-Shank, going to AJ Foyt, a step down. Yeah. But there's a lot of politics involved in IndyCar, as most of you all know. And a lot of people are seeing the pattern and seeing things coming together where AJ Foyt and Penske will kind of have that pipeline. And it's almost setting up perfectly if Dave is with AJ Foyt for a couple of years and then someone at Penske, most likely Will Power, retires, then they expect Dave to step up into the Penske spot, which is like... That's like getting a seat at Red Bull. Yeah. In Formula One.
Yeah. So that, a lot of people in the, like, I even remember, like, I got the notification and I was like, what?
Yeah, people were like...
I think everybody was kind of like, wait, what? And then, like, you take a step back, you digest it for a minute, and you're like, okay,
sometimes, like, you need to, like, step back and look at the bigger picture, but, like, looking, like, close up, you're like, why would he do that?
Yeah, I don't know. In my head, I was like, oh, he'll for sure re-sign with Meyer-Shank. Like, but now we have the Meyer-Shank seat open, and there's Lots of other rumors.
Yeah, not to get too far into it, but leading more into like the rumors of what could be happening is there could be definitely a partnership between Chip Ganassi Racing and Meyer Shank. Chip Ganassi right now has 5 cars on the grid. With things changing next year, they could have to drop that down to 3 cars.
Yeah. Which
means that 2 of their current drivers would basically be losing a spot. One of those drivers, potentially 2 if they open up another car, could go to Meyer Shank.
Yeah.
But that's all kind of like a could be, would be, what if kind of situation.
Yeah, there were rumors like floating around. A journalist talked about how there were rumors floating around that CGR and Meyer Shank met up this weekend in St. Louis and were kind of talking a bit. So I don't know. That's something else to keep an eye out for. Mm-hmm. Could be very, very interesting.
Definitely.
And like, I don't know. Sometimes it's hard to keep up with.
Yeah.
I'm like, wait, what is happening now?
Yeah, we were talking about this on the way. Me, Gracie, and Lexi were talking about this on the way to the track on Friday. But it's so, like, harder to kind of understand the ins and outs of the contracts for IndyCar versus Formula One. And I think it's mainly because, like, IndyCar, it feels so much, like, quicker. And also just feels like so many contracts just aren't really, like, solid contracts.
Yeah.
Or they just have like a completely different like process with clauses. I don't know what it is, but and as new IndyCar fans, I didn't know if this was like an always thing, but I had a good conversation with Sarah, our friend Sarah, off On Track, who's really experienced with IndyCar, and she's like, no, this is kind of like new to this year. Like it's not always like this. Like there's like almost, we were talking like there's like at least been 50 something drivers just this season alone. And I mean half the grid have been considered for the number 6 car in Aaron McLaren. Like there's so much shifting even from race to race versus, you know, in Formula One, like it's a big deal if one of the 20 secured drivers aren't racing that weekend. Like when Carlos had to step out and Ollie Behrman had to step in for him, everyone was freaking out.
Yeah, it was like crazy.
That would just be like any other race weekend.
No, Dale Coyne's like, we'll tell you the day of the race who's going to drive for us.
Honestly, like we didn't know until like 2 days before that Catherine was participating in this race, which I was super excited about. But yeah, because Dale Coyne switches out their drivers like constantly. Mm-hmm. So it's so much harder to keep up with contracts, so much harder to keep up with like, well, who's going where and what, because things are, it feels like constantly changing.
Yeah. Sorry, we went off a bit, but we'll get back to the race at hand. Yes. So we watched qualifying. The Meyer Shanks were doing really good, both David and Felix. And also there were a handful of penalties given out. So, like, people like Scott Dixon, Alex Palou, like, they were people who were, like, usually qualifying pretty well, qualified, and then they got moved down 9 grid places. So it was very interesting. Also, like, Colton, too, he spun out in qualifying. Whew, that was scary.
Yeah. Yeah, he, like, clipped the wall and or I don't know if he clipped the wall or just, like, I think it's, like, back brakes. His back tires locked up, and that caused him to clip the wall a bit. So that was scary, which, spoiler alert, he did fantastic.
Oh, he did so good.
Recovery during the race.
We'll talk about that for sure.
But other than that incident, it was a pretty standard qualifying. Nothing else too crazy happened. Other than, like, Dave did fantastic. Mm-hmm. The Penske guys. Scotty Mack was the one that got pole.
Yeah.
Pietro did pretty good. He got 15th.
He did do good.
I was pretty happy with that.
Yeah.
Anything crazy happening?
No, that was pretty standard. Oh, the other thing, we're filming this right after we got back from the race on Sunday. Catherine couldn't qualify because something happened with her car. We're not 100% sure why, so she ended up starting last, which that was sad. Wish she could have qualified.
She at least probably would have been in front of Colton.
Yeah, probably. Maybe she wouldn't have been in the spot to be taken out. Mm-hmm. Anyway, should we get into our Saturday a little bit?
Yes. So Saturday, because it was a night race, things were really shifted back. So it was really nice. We got to sleep in, ish. I mean, we still got to the track probably by like 11:15,
yeah,
and that's when the gates opened. Was at 11. First thing we did was we attended the driver's signing. Mm-hmm. Oh, I forgot to talk about Friday.
Oh, what?
I ran into Pietro again. I did run into Pietro, and he did give me some hats, a signed hat, a Europharma hat, and he gave me a 5 Hour Energy hat, which was very special.
Are you not going to talk about the most exciting thing?
He also gave me a signed, like, visor that he has on his helmet.
Yeah.
Which means that I really need to find... I have so much, like, of, like, signed stuff from Mid-Ohio and from Gateway that, like, I need to figure out, like, a place to display this. So if anybody has any suggestions, I'm thinking about getting, like, a shelf for my living room, like, back, if you're watching on video, like, back here. But I gotta, like, I gotta do some evaluating. So any suggestions,
for a small studio apartment, too.
Yeah, nothing
there's
crazy.
There's no basement man cave type of deal.
No, yeah, I don't have a man cave.
Also, I would like to say this was so funny. Pietro's, like, on his scooter coming by, and we were all just kind of standing around. And I go, oh, it's Pietro. And then I was like, and you were like...
I was looking down at my hot dog. And you didn't say, oh, it's Pietro. You go, oh my gosh, Celine, look. And I was like, girl, give me a second. I'm putting the ketchup on my hot dog here. And then you were like, Celine, look.
And I just go, oh, hey, Pietro.
Well, no, first he's coming by on his scooter. And I go, oh, shit, I missed him.
Oh,
and then he comes back. And he starts walking back. And then, again, I play him up like a little loser.
I go, hey, Pietro. And he goes, hey, just like kind of nosy. And he turns and sees us and goes, oh, hey.
Yeah, he goes, and he was like, oh, like he recognized from the hat. And then he was like, come meet me at my trailer. I have the hats for you. Like, first of all, he recognized us from Instagram and then the DM, the hats. And I was like, meet at your trailer. He's like, yeah, like just meet me right in front of my trailer. I'm like, right now? And he's like, yeah. And I'm like holding a hot dog. I was like, can I get a picture? Or no, you ask. Did you ask or did Lexi ask for a picture?
I think Lexi was like, oh, you guys should get a picture with the
hat. I was like, I still had the hot dog in my hand.
Lexi goes, girl, give me that hot dog. You were trying to take a picture with the hot dog. Which, like, actually, that's iconic.
I don't know, I couldn't think. So I got a picture with Pietro again, and then we met him down, and he gave me, the 2 hats and the visor, which I was like...
He was also so nice, too.
He was so nice. He was like, I wanted to get you a Fittipaldi's brother's hat, but I left it at home, like, just, when's the next race? So I was like, Nashville. He's like, okay, like, remind me, like, DM me and remind me. Yeah. And I'll bring you one to Nashville. And I was like, okay.
And then, like, even to me and Mimi, he was like, I'll get you guys some, too. Like, Mimi came down with us to the trailer, and he was like, oh, I'll bring some for you guys, too. And we were like, oh, thanks.
Yeah. And then I was like,
so nice.
I couldn't move. Like, I felt like I was moving like a Lego man. Like, I was like, like, Gracie and me were like, okay, like, put it in your backpack.
I also was like you were, like, holding the visor, and I was like, put it away.
Yeah, I was like,
put it away.
Luckily, I brought my backpack. Like, imagine I didn't bring my backpack with me.
Yeah, what would you do?
I guess I would have just gone in the car.
Oh, good point. Yeah. We're like, oh, we have no option.
But no, it was a great interaction. That happened on Friday.
Also, like, once again, if you're not a Pietro fan, get with the program.
Get with the program.
He is so
nice. Like, I just wish amazing things for him, and I know that there's a chance that he's not going to have an IndyCar seat next year, which I'm still holding on hope for. Don't get me wrong. I really, I believe, and I'm manifesting that something amazing and great will happen, that he will be able to stay with IndyCar. But if he doesn't, no matter where he ends up driving, because he will end up somewhere, I'll be a fan. So
great manifestation right there. Mm-hmm. I'm sorry, can you change that to will be a fan?
What did I say?
You said I'll be a fan. Will be a fan.
Will be a fan.
I mean,
Gracie,
you made me join the Pietro train for sure.
Everyone should, though. Every single person that meets him is like, he's so nice.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, why isn't he your favorite? And why don't you get custom merch made?
Where's your Fittipaldi hat?
Where's your Fittipaldi hat?
Mm-hmm. We also met Enzo, and Enzo loved the hat.
We did. Well, so first we like saw him in person, and he like saw the hat in person, and he like waved and was like, oh, cool, or whatever. And he was walking, and then we posted on our story and like tagged him like on the hat, him and Pietro, and he saw it and he put it on his story and was like, I need this hat. And then the next day, on Saturday, we saw him in person, and I was like, can I get a picture? I was so brave, guys. Yes. But that just once again proves that, like, I can, like, be normal and, like, talk to, like, the other drivers.
I can do hard things.
Including talking to, like, Enzo and the other drivers very normally. But when Pietro comes around, I'm like, what's my name again? Like, who am I? Who am I, and where am I, and what am I doing? And that's just something I'm going to have to work through.
You really are going to have to work through this. Mm-hmm. What if, like, Pietro listens to this and he's like, what the fuck? It's like, why can't you talk to me?
I really don't think he's listening, but
no, I mean, no, absolutely not.
As a disclaimer, Pietro, if you're listening, I'm so sorry. I'll work on it. I
know, he's not. He's funny. Oh, we once again just went off on a tangent. Like,
yeah. So back to Saturday morning. So we arrive and we're like, okay, let's go to the driver's signings. We think we have plenty of time because there's nobody out front of the American Legion's tent.
Where the signings are.
Where the signing is. So we're like, oh, we have plenty of time. Let's get a lemonade. Let's get a hot dog. All this stuff. And then we walk a little bit further. They're lining up just in a different spot. And we're like, oh, we got to get in line right now.
We, for the first time ever, had to split up.
We had to split up.
Which, it worked out well because there were 4 of us in a little group. We had to split up.
Yeah, so I obviously wanted to be in Pietro's line. And Gracie wanted to be in Pato's line. Mm-hmm. And Lexi wanted to see Connor Daly. So she was in line with me.
Yeah.
And Marley wanted to see Pato. And Marcus Armstrong was in line with you.
So me, Marley, also Marley's dad was there. Shout out to Patrick.
Shout out to Patrick. Patrick is an icon.
Not Lexi. Marley was also going to go to the race alone, and then her dad was like, no, I'm going with you.
Yeah.
I loved it. Mm-hmm. We were in line. Both of us, it's kind of the same thing. We're both Marcus fans, and we were like, okay, we got to get up there. We got to not freeze. And I made Marcus a bracelet. I did, instead of Armstrong, I did Strong Arm. Haha, so funny. I handed it to him, and he, like, read it, and he goes, oh, okay, cool. I was like, I'm glad he, like, got it. Because at first he was so confused, and I was like, oh,
he's had to think a little bit. Bless his heart.
The
wheels were turning. He got there eventually.
He got there for sure. Mm-hmm. And then Marley is, like, the craftiest queen ever.
Amazing.
She, like, got her own hats and bedazzled, like, driver's numbers. She did one for Aaron McLaren, she went for Pato, and one for Marcus Armstrong.
And she did one for Catherine Legg, too.
Oh, yeah, and for Catherine Legg. Those were so cool. I literally was obsessed with them all weekend long.
And I even was, like, asking her, I was like, how did you do it? Like, thinking I was going to be able to do it. And she told me about it, and she's like, individually, each jewel. And I'm like, girl.
I won't be doing that.
If I tried to do that, it would look a mess.
Yeah. I also met Dave, and he yelled at me about my hat.
He did not yell at me. He didn't yell at me. It was banter.
It's funnier to say yell at me. No,
he was very nice. You're going to give him a bad reputation. He's like, oh my God. Dave yelled at a fan.
Okay.
So horrible.
I'm kidding. I love you, Dave. I had my pink Aaron McLaren hat on. He was like, hey. And I was like, hey, nice to meet you, da-da-da. And he was like, oh, the hat. And I was like, well. And he was like, it's pink. It's at least pink. And then I was like, I have, like, Malukas bracelets, don't worry. And he's like, okay, that makes up for it, don't worry. Mm-hmm. That was funny.
All of the drivers were really, I think, more chatty this time than they were last time.
Yeah, they're all pretty chatty. It was fun. We had great, once again, interactions.
Yeah, Joseph Newgarden. So the whole line cleared out, which we'll touch a little bit on Joseph Newgarden later.
Yep.
But the whole, like, all of the drivers, like, time was up, and there were still people in line, and all of the drivers left except for Joseph Newgarden was still, so like, signing.
Nice. He was the only person there.
He was the only person that stayed, and it was, like, really, like, I'm sure it made those people's day, because those people were waiting in line just as long as we were.
Oh, yeah.
So they were waiting in line for an hour just to get up there and be like, sorry, all the drivers left.
Also, Marcus Erickson left, and he was carrying a black Valentino bag, and I was like, is he carrying his fiance's purse right now?
We all looked at me and were like,
yeah, he is. It was funny. He was kind of, like, holding it up a little. Like,
he was holding it like a man that's never held a purse before.
No, literally. It was so funny. I was like, is that a designer bag right now? I'm like, that's his fiance's. Yeah, it was really funny. They also canceled the Indy Next driver signings, and we weren't sure why.
Yeah, that was interesting. I wonder why they did that.
Yeah. We really wanted to go because our friend Lexi made such a cute bracelet for Jamie Chadwick.
Which she did get to Jamie, I think.
That's right. She did give it to her.
Yeah.
Perfect. And then it was still kind of a bit of a wait for the race because it didn't start until like 5:25.
Yeah.
So we ate a hot dog again. The amount of hot dogs I consumed this weekend.
It was just, okay, another thing to point out is the food in general, like everywhere, like not just inside the pit and paddock, but like everywhere, was much cheaper at Gateway than it was even at Mid-Ohio.
Yeah.
Well, like obviously cheaper than the Indy 500. Yeah, but like even cheaper than Mid-Ohio, which I thought was really interesting.
I thought it was so interesting too.
It'll be interesting because to compare everything. It'll be when we during off season we should do a video where we compare like all of the races we went to in IndyCar.
Oh yeah, we should.
And be like, oh, if you're looking for a place that has cheaper food, you should go to this one. If you're looking for a place that has more fan interactions, go to this one.
Oh yeah,
I think that'd be good.
Yeah, that'd be a great.
It'll be interesting to see the differences.
We'll definitely do that. That'll be a good like winter break episode.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna quickly talk about the lemonade stand. We loved these people so much. They're called the Great Lakes Lemonade. Kendall and
Jamie.
Thank you. They are husband and wife, and they started this little small lemonade business, and they travel on to, like, music festivals and some races. They're from St. Pete, so they go to St. Pete. They're at the St. Louis race, and they're going to COTA, too. First of all, once again, the kindest human beings ever. They were so nice, and they, like, had lemonades, a bunch of different samples. Like, if you wanted to, you could, like, have the option to spike it. And they also had reusable cups.
The cutest reusable cups ever.
And the color changed.
Color changing.
And if you wanted to go back, you had, like, a discount. If you had the reusable cup.
If you bought the reusable cup, like, option, you get half off of your lemonade if you bring the cup back. And, like, we saw that as an option. We're like... Luckily, we saw it, like, when we first got there. We're like, I know. Okay, this will be, like, our home base for the weekend.
Marley and I got margaritas the first time, and we were like, man, we should have gone to the lemonade stand.
No, and they were just, like, the nicest people ever. Like, they were asking us about, you know, our podcast, and they were talking about, like, this is their second year at Gateway, and they were talking about last year. And they were just, like, really, like, genuinely, like, having good conversations. Yeah. So, yeah, definitely if you're going to COTA or if you're going to St. Pete next year... I mean, keep an eye on them. Hopefully, they talked about wanting to get into Mid-Ohio.
Oh, yeah.
Definitely keep an eye on them and go visit them and tell them that Podium Pop says hi.
Yeah. Yeah, they're just super kind. They also...
Delicious lemonade, too.
Oh, so good. They had a lavender lemonade. I'm the biggest lavender fan, you guys, and that was so good. I cannot even begin to describe how much I loved it. Mm-hmm. Should we get into the race?
Yes.
So, for the race... Celine stayed in the paddock to watch it. Oh, in the paddock, they had, like, 3 sections of couches and comfy chairs. It was, like, outdoor patio furniture. Mm-hmm. And it was, part of it was shaded. I mean, depending on where the sun was, it always wasn't under the shade. Uh-huh. But that was so nice. They were so comfy.
Much, again, comparing it to Mid-Ohio, where we also had paddock access to Mid-Ohio. Much more, even, like, seating. Like, there was no even, like, seating other than, like, picnic tables in Ohio.
There wasn't much at all.
It's really nice. So I watched it with Sarah, off On Track. I watched it with her in the paddock, and then Gracie and Lexi went over to the stands.
We got our seats, like, right at turn 1. Fantastic view. Mm-hmm. It was so good. Like, you could see everything, and I absolutely was obsessed. We had, like... we were walking up to our seats as the start of the race happened, and the cars, we were, like, walking down the front by the fence. The cars going by. I was sweat. I was sweat. I was, like, hot and sweaty and sticky, but the cars came by. I literally had full body chills, and I was like, I love this so much. Mm-hmm. And we went up to our seats. We stayed there for, like, I think till, like, lap 190, and we went down. Mm-hmm. And then went and sat in the paddock. Mm-hmm. But we once again separated.
Yeah, and we found each other again.
We did. We shouldn't do that ever again, though.
Yeah, we gotta stop separating, guys. I mean, both of these turned out fine.
Actually, we both had so much fun.
Yeah.
So let's get into the race.
Okay, so disclaimer before we get started: if you didn't watch the race, go watch it.
Oh,
but there was a lot of DNFs.
A lot of them. The drama of this race was crazy. Mm-hmm. So, like we talked about how there were some grid penalties and how Colton crashed in qualifying. He, at the very beginning, had an iconic start, I'm going to say so. He made up 6 spots, like, before the end of lap 1. Mm-hmm. He was a mad man. Mm-hmm. And that was just amazing to see, because all of a sudden it was like, oh, there goes the yellow, there goes. I loved to see it. It was great. And then by, like, around lap 7, we were, like, about to walk up our steps when this happened. So it happened, like, this incident happened at turn 1. So we, like, saw it, like, right there firsthand. Catherine Legg and Ed Carpenter collided and spun out. And unfortunately that led to Catherine not being able to finish. Which is just, we were like, I feel like she can't catch a break.
Yeah.
I felt so bad. Yeah, that was sad. And then it kind of was steady for a little while.
Yeah.
Dave overtook towards the beginning, and from Scotty Mack, and he was leading. I think he led for about.
So good. It's so like.
It's so. Dave led for I think like 10 to like 14ish laps, mm-hmm. and then it was Will Power who overtook him, but he stayed up there in the top. Of course, when he like pits and the pit cycles go through, but he was very consistently having a good race and staying up top, doing such a good job. We're gonna go in order with the race, so we'll get there. I promise we will get there. Let's see what happened next. Oh, Pato. This was so sad. Lexi and I are sitting up in the stands, and she looked down at something, I think like stats or something like that. We also had, Lexi had the radio, and so we both had like the big radios on, which that is so, I loved wearing that.
Yeah.
You could like hear everything, the broadcast, and also somehow we were hearing the producers, which was hilarious. At one point, like, we could hear the producers, like, count them in or be like, okay, we're switching to Georgia for this interview, or we're switching to this driver's onboard. Like, that was so cool.
Fine, I'll get one
Yeah,
for
no.
Nashville.
Literally, at one point, this was, like, a lot later in the race, but the producer just goes, I got a headache. It was so funny. It was so funny. But, so we're sitting there, and Lexi's looking down, I'm looking, and I'm like, Pato's slowing down. Pato's slowing down. He's slowing down. I see it, and then I just, like, I hit her, and I'm, like, pointing, and we were like, no! That was really sad.
Yeah.
He had, they thought it was with his engine, but it was something else, like, leaking within the car, I believe. And so that caused him to... At first, he didn't get out of the car. He went to the pits. He didn't get out.
Well, I was going to say, so they brought the car in, which I was in the paddock side, which is, like, right next to the pits. So I actually, like, watched them bring the car in, and I was, like, texting them updates because I was like, they're moving quickly. Like, they still think that there's hope. Like, he stayed in the car. They put it into the, like, once he got it, they moved it into, like, the actual garages inside of the paddock, which, again, would never happen in Formula One. Like, if it went into the garages, they're not coming back out.
No, they get out of the car, they're done.
Yeah. So they brought it into the paddock where I was, like, literally seeing it live. Like, I turned my head. And they were, like, working on it frantically. I don't even think any of these text messages got to you because
they
of my
didn't.
service. But I was like, they're moving quickly. There's still a chance. Like, they haven't lost hope. Like, the mechanics were booking it. They were, like, scrambling around, jumping over the fence. It was really cool. And then, unfortunately, a lot of the people, like, in the paddock walked over to it and, like, were in their space. And I was like, give them room, guys. Come on. Which, I mean, I get that them being interested in it. But it was really cool to see, like, that side of things. So, like, Gracie was seeing it from, like, one side and I was seeing it from the other.
Yeah.
But then eventually, like, you saw all of them kind of slow down slowly.
So
and then
sad.
Pato gets out of the car. And then next thing you know, Pato's, like, in his normal, out of his race suit in his normal clothes. And you're like, oh, it's over.
It's over.
It's over. So yeah, that was really unfortunate for him.
Also on the vein of Aaron McLaren, Nolan Siegel had a great race.
Fantastic.
He was running up top for a while. I think he like led a lap or two before like pitting, but he got a penalty, unfortunately. So, but he still finishes. Oh my god, I was talking too fast. This was his first top 10 finish. So yeah, he did so good. And like you can now like see this. You're like, okay, we get why. Starting to see.
We got why before.
For
as
sure.
soon as it was announced, I was like, yeah, he's a fantastic driver.
Yeah.
His team just won Le Mans, of course.
Yes.
But like it was still like, why so soon?
Yeah.
I get it.
No, for sure.
We just had to wait it out a little bit, but
yeah, he did great.
He did fantastic.
It's also the only Aaron McLaren finish. So. Then we get to around lap 196. Joseph was going up on the high line to try and go around, so on the top part of the track, and that caused him to spin out. We were sitting. It was kind of like I'm waiting for a moment, like something everybody could tell that something was going to happen. From our angle too, sitting in the stands, it was like right after turn or on the back straight. It literally looked like somebody was going to hit him. Like my heart was beating so fast. I was so scared from the angle we were at. I was like, Lexi and I were like, how did somebody not hit him? Like, thankfully, like, thank God. And how that man recovered the way he did, I don't even know.
Yeah, we also didn't talk about Kiff, which I don't know if that happened before or after Joseph.
It happened before Joseph.
Yeah, so Kiff also spun out, and he didn't necessarily hit the wall. He, like, locked up. But he also had to retire the car.
Yeah.
Just very another sad one to add to the list.
Kiff dog.
Kiff dog.
Kiff dog. Kiff dog. Now let's get in
Okay. The incident.
The incident. The heartbreaking incident. Do you want to explain it?
You.
Okay.
Okay.
So this is the incident between David Malukas and Will Power.
Mm-hmm.
They were up front battling once again. It was Scotty Mac was up there, Joseph was up there, Will and Dave were up there. Oh, actually, at this point, Joseph was still a little behind because of his spin up. David is on the inside of the track. He's closest to like the infield.
Yeah. This is at turn 4, right?
I thought it was at turn 2.
Is on. Oh, okay.
I could be so wrong.
I don't know.
It was it was a whirlwind of a moment. Mm-hmm. This was also we had walked into the paddock by the time this happened, so we were watching on the TV. Mm-hmm. And Will was on the outside. So hypothetically, if you have a car that's closer on the inside, maybe let's give him a bit more space. Mm-hmm. Dave, did you want to say something?
No, I was just gonna say, like, again, like Dave was basically in like the first lane, and
yes.
Will was in the second lane,
yes.
and that would have been perfectly fine if they stayed in their own designated lanes.
Yes. They didn't. Well,
Will didn't.
Will didn't. Dave
Will
did.
Mm-hmm. Well, Dave had to, because otherwise he would have been in the grass. So,
Dave also said he braked and did as much as he could for Will to not hit him, but Will came in and like pinched him, and they collided, or the wheels bumped, and that caused Dave to spin out, hit the wall. You guys, that was so upsetting.
it was really upsetting. And, like, again, like, it was the perfect conditions. Like, everything was set in place for Dave to get his first IndyCar win.
Yes.
Everyone was, like, ready for it. And, like, this was the place to do it. Like,
He loves this place. It's his favorite track.
it was just so, like, it was the weekend that he did this announcement. Like,
yes.
all of this, everything was in place for it. And Will Power, count your days, literally, yeah. And skipping forward a bit to after the race, we'll go back to the race because there's another incident too, which, but skipping to the end of the race, like, Dave did an interview. We're not going to talk too much about it because it's literally heartbreaking. And if you want to go watch it, prepare some tissues and prepare to sob. But after the race, Dave's doing an interview and he's obviously emotional. Like, he just lost this win that he was fighting for a podium fighting a win. For a win.
Yeah.
And he was talking, and he literally goes, like, yeah, and, like, Will just came over and, like, screamed at me and, like, yelled at me. And this was, like, right after he gets, like, cleared from medical.
Yeah.
And he gets yelled at by Will Power, and it was Will Power's fault.
It was his fault.
It's Will Power's fault, and if you think otherwise, let me know. We'll have a conversation about it, and if you can convince me, that's good enough for you, but I don't think I can be convinced. I really don't.
That was just, and then Georgia was like, well, what are you thinking? Interviewing him, Georgia was like, what do you think going in for, like, the rest of the things? And he was, like, trying to formulate some thoughts, and then his, like, breath gets shaky, and he was like, I don't know, I just really wanted this result.
He was, like, literally, like, holding back tears, like, leave him alone, okay, like, let him go. And at that point, he kind of was just like, yeah, like, I was just hoping for a better result. And then he, like, kind of, like, walked away. And then I think he was, like, worried that he was coming after it, so he kind of hovered for a second. And then he actually walked away.
And then you could tell, like, Georgia, obviously, great at her job, by the way. We fucking love Georgia.
Love Georgia.
She, like, quickly changed it. She's like, and anyway, like, talking to, like, presenting to the TV. She's like, this is, like, da-da-da. Yeah. That was good.
It was so sad, though.
It was so sad. Like, I'm not even kidding you guys. These screams that happened.
Yeah, so this happened while we were on the paddock, and we were watching with, like, a bunch of other, like, like, the fans, like, that we interact with on Twitter and not Twitter, on TikTok and Instagram a lot. So there was a group of maybe, like, 10 of us.
Yeah.
And all of us love David. Like, David is so...
How do you not love David, to be honest?
David is so online. He is so good at interacting with fans. Fans love him. He's, like, around a lot of our ages. He's younger than, like, us. But, like, in general, like, he's closer in age to us than, like, Will Power and, like, Joseph Newgarden. Actually, I don't know for sure about that.
Stop.
Not Will Power. Will Power is definitely a lot older. How old is Joseph Newgarden?
Don't do that to me right now.
Are we closer to Joseph in age than David?
Don't do that to me right now. We'll figure it out later. Not live on air.
Okay. We'll have a mental breakdown later. Pencil that in for tonight. Anyways, he's, like, close, and he interacts with fans online. So obviously everyone's a fan of him. Yeah. So when he crashed, we all, like, jumped out of our seats. There were gasps. There were, like, cries, even squeals. Like, it was so, like...
There were, like... The way it worked is there were, like, 2 TVs basically on the sides, and they're like two separate sides, so you could like see the people across from you.
Mm-hmm.
And we had like a bunch of Arrow McLaren fans ahead of us. Like everybody like was like gasping, like covering their mouths.
Yeah.
Like our
like
friend,
everyone, like, it's kind of like, you know, when, you know, the famous like Seb quote, like, everyone's a Ferrari fan. And similar again also to like even the people that like didn't like when we were in Miami, like wasn't a McLaren fan, still like was cheering for Lando.
Yeah.
Like they were all like, oh, Lando got his first win, this is exciting. Even like the non, you know, David Malukas fans were like really like sad about this. Like it was heartbreaking.
Yeah, it was so heartbreaking
everywhere.
Our friend Sarah off on track, she actually recorded it. I don't know what intuition she had, but she was standing behind everybody and like kind of like recording everybody watching the race, and like it was so fun. And she got all of our reactions to Dave crashing. Like, it's insane. I literally like gasped and covered my hand in my mouth, and then I like clutched my chest. I was like,
yeah, no, it was so heartbreaking, honestly.
And then he like probably was like obviously very upset, just, you know, spun out, hit the wall, like was shaking a bit. It took him a second to get out too. Mm-hmm. That was
so scary.
Like terrifying. I feel like everybody was just like, okay. And then Lexi had like the headset on still, and she had a spare. And then at one point she goes, they're going to Dave, they're getting interview with him. So I like threw the headset back on. I don't think they actually ended up getting it, but or going to that. Yeah, that was really, really sad. Willpower, buddy.
Couple races ago, he had an incident with Pietro. Yeah. Now you're having an incident with Dave. Stay away from Pato, and we'll be fine.
Yeah, we'll be okay.
We'll be fine.
We can reconvene at a different point.
Yeah, my opinion will probably stay the same, though.
No, I mean, yeah. And you know what? We don't all have to have the same opinions. That's the great thing about life.
Mm-hmm. And as big and dramatic as that incident was, it was not the last incident.
No, it was not.
So we get all the way, like, there are literally like seven
laps to go.
And at this point, we were in the paddock, and they had the podium like marked off, which we thought they were going to stay marked off, which we'll talk about a little bit. But we're like, okay, let's go over to like get a spot where we can have like barricade for the podium. And so we walk over there, and as we're like getting up to the barricade to like get our spots for the podium, we hear like a huge like crash happen.
We hear the crash, and then we hear people gasping. And so this was on the restart. And so how it's going is during the caution from Dave's crash, a bunch of people pit, and it was basically a race to pit to get the undercut, and Joseph Newgarden came out first, and then it was Scotty Mack, and then it was Will Power, and then it was Alexander Rossi. The restart happens, and when the restart happens and the safety car goes in, it is the lead lap's car's job to get everything back started. You know, I'm not too sure how much what happened. People have a lot of opinions. Commentators have a lot of opinions, but from what it seems is there wasn't enough speed from Joseph, maybe? I don't know. I feel like people are still questioning it to this day.
They're definitely still looking into it. A lot of people believe that Joseph should have gotten a penalty for it.
Yeah, for sure.
And looking at it, there's no way to like prove yes or no on that. But like definitely people like,
yeah. So kind of it wasn't up to speed. Rossi was ready to go. He was ready to hit that throttle and get this race going, and the front just wasn't going fast enough from what, you know, usually happens. Should have, been happening. Rossi ends up running up onto the back of Will Power, because they're all coming off from this in a straight line. Some people had kind of diverted out, but the top four were in a straight line. Rossi comes up on the back of Will Power, causing both him and Will to crash. And I think Connor Daly got a bit of flack in it, or caught up in it. And we're like sitting this happening. We were like, what? There's like no way this just happened. Everybody was in total shock. We were like standing at the podium waiting for.
So that means like literally in the last like 7 laps, once that incident was cleared up, because that was a red flag, which means they obviously stopped.
Yeah.
And then so once that restart happened, it was all, like, up in the air. Like,
oh my God, like, what's going to happen?
What's going to happen? Like,
yeah.
We're sitting here at the podium, and we thought we knew who was going to be coming in, and we're like, we have no idea.
No, we had no idea. Well, we were also, like, sitting there when this happened, and first it was just a yellow for a while, and then we were all sitting there, we were like, it's going to be a red flag, it's going to be a red flag, it's going to be a red flag, and then the guy next to us was like, come on, Indy, red flag it, you gotta red flag it, and then they obviously did, but then the race starts back up with 7 laps to go. We were like, literally, what is going to happen? And we were with, once again, Sarah, Offie on Track. We were with her the whole weekend. She's a huge Linus fan. Her husband, like, works on Linus's team. And Linus was in 5th. So the restart, we were like, 7 laps. We don't know what's going to happen. Linus could
We were all, because at this point also, like, I was cheering for Linus even before because, again, I was with Sarah the whole race. But also, like, most of our faves were, like, out. Or not, near the front. I mean, Colton Herta was up here, so I was cheering for him as well. But, like, we were, like, all like, okay, let's go, Linus. Everyone was like, you know what, we're all going to start cheering for Linus.
We were all cheering for Linus. And it's like, he overtook them and was in 4th. And it was like, oh, Colton's in front of him. Is he going to do this? Is it going to happen? And then he overtook Colton, I think with, like, 2 or 3 laps to go. We were all, like...
And then we all were like,
so
we were
exciting.
also excited. We're like, okay, like, nothing happened.
I literally nobody move.
Yeah.
Literally nobody move.
And he ended up coming away with 3rd. So it was Joseph that came through in 1st, and then it was Scotty Mack in 2nd, and then it was Linus Lundqvist. I can't say his last name.
There you go.
In 3rd.
Yep.
Which was all super exciting. And even when Joseph pulled in to where the podium was, we still were like, is he getting a penalty? Is something going to happen? Nothing happened from it.
Yeah. And of course, like, people are throwing out rumors and, their opinions and this should happen, that should happen.
Because basically the guy that owns Penske also basically owns...
Roger Penske owns the series.
Cars.
Yeah.
So, some conflict of interest there.
Oopsies. And, Mr. Brian Herta today told us like it is and said, we're upset.
Yeah.
Anyway, Joseph, like, comes in and, people are happy for him. There were some Joseph Newgarden fans that were, like, cheering for him.
But let me tell you, when Linus walked in, the girls were screaming.
He got a lot of applause.
Yeah, for sure.
And then it's also, like, there were other people around us, too. We were, like, all cheering. They're like, oh, yeah, we'll cheer for Linus.
Yeah, it was just, like, a crowd. Like,
yeah. It, like, just kept going. And it's also pretty exciting. That's his 2nd podium. So, very, very exciting for Linus. And let me tell you also, that tension on the podium.
Oh, my gosh. Okay, so originally the podium, it was blocked off to where, like, only the press were in the front. And then it was marked off from us. Like, and so we thought, okay, we're not going to see him. But then at one point, the guy, like, walks over and he, like, opens the gate. Like, opens, the barricade, basically. And I thought he was, like, letting one person in, so I was like, oh, who's going through? Like, maybe...
Oh, it's a
media person. Yeah. And he was like, well, come on.
He goes, go.
And we go, oh, my God. And my bag was on the ground, and Gracie goes, pick up your bag. I grab my bag, and we run to the podium. We weren't expecting it, because even then, like, I was like, wow, I was talking to Sarah. She's been to many, many IndyCar races. And I was like, oh, it's, like, sad that they don't let you, like, to stand in front, only on the side. And she's like, yeah, a lot of them are like that. Like, it's typical that they don't have the greatest, like, viewing area for the podiums. I was like, yeah. So, like, even she was, like, shocked. She was like, oh, my God, go. So we get up there. I know. So we do get up to the front where the podium is. And, yeah, the tension on the podium was insane.
Linus was in his own little happy world. It was so funny. Like, he was like, la, 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 la.
And then the bus bros are, like, beefing.
Yeah.
Good
ranchers beefing. TK, if you have some beef, you should get some good ranchers. And, like, the fact that we say it in a country accent when he's from New Zealand.
you have to do it in a country accent when you're saying good ranchers.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, so another thing, there was some insane fireworks that came out. None of the drivers were expecting it. I think it scared them.
Joseph, like, stepped off of the podium because it was, like, so intense.
It was right in their face.
And they were like right in front of us too. We were all like, oh.
We're like, oh!
Everybody take a step back.
Okay,
They're also playing some heavy metal music, which was
interesting. It was an interesting podium.
The vibe was...
Again, very different from Mid-Ohio.
Yeah.
But great. I took some confetti.
Oh, yeah. Did you? Is it still?
It's still in my pocket, in my romper, in my suitcase that I haven't unpacked.
Well, I mean, we got back, like, 2 hours ago.
I gotta remember to take it out before I put it in the washer.
Yeah, you have got to. Oh, that'd be so sad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll get that right after we film.
Yeah, for sure.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, that was fun. You know what? Despite the circumstances and quite literally almost all of my favorite drivers getting out of the race, it was a great weekend. And honestly, it was a great race to watch.
And a lot of people, I know a lot of people, like, used summer break as a lot of Formula One fans used summer break to kind of have a chance to kind of get to know IndyCar. So this was a lot of people's first race that they watched.
First race for people
great
to watch.
First race. I'm actually, there's definitely people that were out that we didn't talk about. So I'm going to literally go through the full list of people that did not finish the race.
There were a lot.
So Catherine Legg was first. We talked about Pato. We talked about Kiff. Marcus Ericsson had a mechanical issue. Graham Rahal had a mechanical issue. Kyle Kirkwood got into a little scruffle with Connor Daly.
Like lap one.
Yeah.
Like
and
in the very beginning.
He fixed it, but he was so far behind that eventually he retired the car. And then Jack Harvey was involved in the incident as well with Alexander Rossi. So literally 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 people.
9 people were out.
9 out of 27 did not finish the race, which was great because, you know what? PHO finished in 14th. Woo, woo, woo!
Woo! Let's go!
Would he have finished in 14th without all of the DNFs?
Yeah.
Maybe. Maybe he would have finished even higher up.
You never know.
You never know.
You literally never know.
Mm-hmm.
So, I think it's safe to say that we had another fantastic weekend. Going to an IndyCar race.
The vibes were amazing.
It's so good.
I love that it was a night race. It was so fun.
Oh, that was, so fun. There were also just, these massive bugs flying around. Not even at night. During the day. Mm-hmm. I don't know.
The bugs were insane there.
St. Louis, what is going on with that?
Can you look into that, please?
Yeah, it was a little concerned.
Fix your bug problem. But all in all, amazing weekend. Again, all of the experiences that we had with Indy Road Course, Indy 500, Mid-Ohio, and now Gateway, all of them so different, but all of them, amazing in different ways.
Absolutely.
We met so many, other content creators. We met so many other fans. We got to talk to a lot of people on, the teams. It was just super cool to kind of be in that space and be able to interact with people.
Yeah, it was very cool. And definitely would just recommend, if you want to go to a race and you can, give it a shot.
Give it a shot.
I know there's only a couple races left this year. Goodness gracious.
Yeah, so next week they head to Portland. Mm-hmm. And then the week after that they do Milwaukee, which is a double header.
It is.
So it is a race on Saturday and a race on Sunday. And then there's a week break, and then they're in Nashville, which we will be at. So if you're planning on going to Nashville, definitely let us know. I know that Sarah Offie on Track is going to... There's a lot of events happening, a lot of fan meetups, and a lot of things that they're putting together. So make sure you go follow her because she's going to be posting a lot about it. We'll repost it as well, so follow us also if you don't already.
Yeah.
But there's going to be a lot of exciting stuff happening, which I can't wait for. There's going to be a lot
Nashville.
I know there's a lot of content creators that we love, that we interact with a lot. That we just we've missed, the races they've gone to. Yeah,
I'm
McKenna,
talking to you.
We're looking for you.
If you're listening to this, I'm finding you in Nashville.
Exactly. And then there's some other content creators that we're going to try to convince to go to Nashville. MJ. Mac Attack.
MJ, I know you're listening to this right now.
Yeah, you are actually
Happy
listening.
Monday, MJ.
So, go to Nashville, buy the tickets, meet us there. But it's going to be a fantastic race. Yeah. So if you can get to a race, definitely do it. If not, look at the schedule for next year.
Yeah.
Like I said, we're going to do a breakdown video of the differences. We can only speak to the ones that we've been to.
Yeah.
But that way, if you're considering going to any of them, also if you have questions about any of them, let us know. And we'll do our best to answer them.
You can DM us, respond to a video, whatever, anywhere. We'll do our best to answer, which we will answer.
Yeah.
Before we end, IndyCar summer break is over. And tomorrow morning, F1 summer break is over, baby. We have Zandvoort this coming weekend, race weekend. Zandvoort's jam-packed. We have Formula 1. We have Formula 2. We have Formula 3. We have Formula 1 Academy. Those girls are back. Watch them. Watch Formula 1 Academy. It's so easy. They literally stream it on Twitter. Mm-hmm. Watch Formula 1 Academy.
We have IndyCar. We have Indy next.
Yeah.
Both of them going to Portland.
Yeah.
So it's going to be a lot to keep up with.
A lot.
So make sure you're following us for any updates. We'll do our best. We are anticipating, we are manifesting an announcement for Jack to go to Alpine.
It's happening.
And we're hoping that, again, hoping that this is a situation where we post this episode and the news is already out Monday morning.
Yeah.
By the time we post it, that'd be fantastic. If not, I could see it coming through Thursday morning before media day. But we will definitely be posting about it if we find out that news. So make sure you're following us. But
Alpine,
please
don't be in your walls if you mess this up.
Please don't embarrass me, mother effer.
Please.
You, Alpine, you're the mother effer.
Yeah.
Classic Alpine.
Classic Alpine. Thank you so much for tuning into this week's episode. We will see you next week for a big race recap.
Ooh, strap in for next week.
Strap in.
We're going to have a lot to talk about.
Potentially a double episode.
Mm-hmm.
We maybe probably the formulas and the indies. So tune in. It's going to be great.
Tune in.
Please do.
Bye. Thanks, bye.